going to go ahead and bring the review curtain down. And I do ask, one at a time, please.
No. All at once.
So, let's. Who had some feedback for this? The end of a short mission.
I have some feedback. I had specifically asked you to make sure we had some feedback time, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I know in the past you have lamented our tendency towards overlong deliberation and hemming and hawing about what to do with a situation. This kind of mission, though, I don't know what else we could have done. We had way more character moments in this session than I actually expected we would at the beginning. But a mission of planetary scale like this is very hard to figure out concisely what a team of 4 individuals, or even our NPCs, but the 4 of us have to make decisions about how literally this whole world is going to end up at the end of this. And that makes snappy, impulsive decision making very, very difficult.
I feel like it's definitely a different beast from because really this is like what fate are we waiting to decide, or just debating the fate of something as opposed to how to do something.
Let me
I guess.
add something there that may change perspective a little bit. I don't mind long deliberations. I don't mind the planning. I do want to curtail them spinning around in circles, because that is more likely to end with frustrated players when an hour is talked, or an hour is spent talking about something with nothing to show for it. But most of my impetus for trying to drive more action and less planning and decision making was from feedback from the prior campaign, where lengthy discussions did occur. Lulu is not playing with us, but Lulu wanted to run something, or to not run something, but to be in something that was more action and less planning. And so if I've given the impression that I lament those decisions, it's only because I know that that's not preferable and is actually a fun suck for some players. Like, this whole session for me has been amazing. I've loved all the discussion, and I've loved the scenes in it.
Okay, yeah, that's a useful context for the feedback then, because I actually really enjoyed this too, and the fact that we were able to put some of those decisions into character scale context helped a lot. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I particularly enjoyed that because I had that conversation with Riley, you gave us another possible out here. That was an important thing. I felt like we were kind of on a track to an inevitable conclusion, and I wasn't too crazy about that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll also add in throughout some of this, with feeling a little bit of pushback from the short mission time. I've had those thoughts of, well, Lulu's not here, maybe I can do away with the mission times. But through this session, I've also enjoyed the sense of tension that this is the last session created.
It's actually, I think, overall, I think it's actually not a bad thing, because it's really forcing us to make, to push things ahead too. I think, like, I guess it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but I do think that's actually overall, I think it's an improvement. Like, you don't need to worry about that whole situation that you had apparently right before I joined.
That's right. Yep. That was 8 sessions. It was 8 sessions on SOS, where the players were being, I call it overly cautious. they were being denied entry into various parts of the city that they wanted and needed to get into for information and such.
Right.
And they weren't willing to try breaking in. They weren't willing to try to sneak in or, push past guards. They were trying to go a very administrative route.
And they never thought to say, okay, we wait a few days.
Okay.
Remember, so the lockbox.
They kept they also kept planning things like Lulu had Jai try and meet up with a bunch of people and interview them. And I was like, all right, well that's content. I'm fine with content. But and there was content through all those sessions. It was engaging if you weren't trying to advance the plot, but there was Lulu, and I think it was at least one other player who was frustrated. Oh, it was Xander, I think, was frustrated at not advancing plot in that time frame.
Oh, I waited my turn.
Go ahead.
I agree with most of what Talair and Malkin are saying. But I think for this mission, if you wanted it done in 4 sessions, the way those 4 sessions were spent was bad. It took us too long to get to enough information to try to make an informed decision or do anything about what's going to happen here. We spent the better part of 3 sessions just getting to the point where we knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that this mission was meant to be somewhat of a mystery, but if we only have 4, spending 60%, of the time we've got in the dark is not a lot of fun. You were killing me in particular in the stupid hallway into the bunker, which I'm sure we all saw, because it was a hallway. Everything interesting was in the bunker.
I've been burned by hallways before, okay?
Yeah, me too. I've played lots of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just saying.
Specifically hallways with flame traps.
Yeah. I've experienced some really exciting shit in hallways in Dungeons and Dragons. Don't get me wrong, but this is not the context for that. It wasn't the way the mission was being presented, etc., etc. There was no reason to expect that or anticipate yada yada. You get what I'm saying.
The objection I had to rushing that was that I saw value in a character interaction in that.
And my response is you're going to get more interesting and fertile character interaction with the information that we did not have because we were still in the damn hallway.
Perhaps.
But yeah. In fact, I think you did once we got some of that information. I feel the results here justify what I'm trying to say. It's fine if we come upon a problem and we have to decide something about it. That's okay, but then we need more space in which to do that.
Yeah, I think I can actually agree with that. I like given the because we spent a lot of the time not even knowing about the huge decision.
Yep.
And
I actually really like, to be clear, the dilemma here, the situation, all of that. I just would have liked to get to it quicker.
Do you think having known about it in the 3rd session, or being where you were this session, in the 3rd session?
I think if we had gotten to the point where we talked to the blind by the end of the 2nd session, I would feel more satisfied with this whole experience. If we'd spent less time with the equivalent of a 10-foot pole and lots of disabled device checks,
and then
that would have been good.
Yeah, and then like the 3rd session is basically us collecting information, trying to figure out what
find stuff out. What opportunities do we have to influence the situation? What can we even do about this? And then the 4th session can be the big, okay, so we've done everything we can, now what?
So it wasn't that you spent a session in discussion, or that you spent 4 sessions here. It was that you didn't know the dilemma until the last session.
Yeah, that's the worst part of it for sure. Like, I would have been happy to, talk in a hallway once we knew what was going on, or at least I would have minded less. But we were still in a hallway, not knowing what was going on at the time.
Okay.
There's an aspect.
We also spent one of our 4 sessions doing something completely unrelated to this mission.
Yep.
Because we wanted to take care of stuff.
Yep.
Completely unrelated to this mission. So we had 3 sessions to do this mission because of that.
That only took a half session, so 3.5 sessions.
But still, it's not helpful in these circumstances. That's all I'm saying.
I would
if this
weigh
had been
in.
a nice linear, you're doing a thing for 3.5 sessions, blowing a half session on something else would have been fine. Sorry, go.
Yeah, so elaborating on the idea of information, what have you, a big part of the reason why I felt a little bit stuck here is that at the end of this session, we're not actually going to have done much. We will have gathered information that will then allow us to decide how we're going to allocate Raz's assets. And that, I don't know, that feels weird to me.
Because our characters ourselves aren't doing, yeah. But for something this big, it kind of makes sense. But it's also kind of weird getting thrown into that scope.
I really love the idea here. I got to be honest. I'm 100% on board for the idea. The execution was not ideal.
Let me just ask, is it deliberate? Was it deliberate that this was going to be mostly about us learning about the situation so that we could then spend Raz's assets? If that was deliberate, I'll concede it. If it was accidental, then I'm confused.
Yeah, when this mission came up, when this planet was rolled as a random event, don't mind telling you that, and I decided that this is what's happening here. I anticipated that the solutions that you decide would end up coming in the form of Raza assets. That's why, even after you and I talked about how to kind of rework the framework, I wanted to leave it as it is for this mission to give you guys the most assets possible, the most options possible. I guess the short answer to that is yes. I did expect that you guys would do things on the ground, and you did. You freed those bunkers. You destroyed some condensers, and you also made it so that you can move the ship around with fair ease on the surface. But the final resolution, I kind of knew, would come down to either doing nothing or choosing what happens through the use of Raza assets. Even shorter, no, your 5 characters with NPCs were not going to solve this.
Yeah, I asked more or less the same thing at the end of the day last week, actually. This was always meant to be a problem that we found and could not fix. We had to decide what to do with it.
No, that's still not true, though. I said that wasn't true then, and I still say that that's not entirely true.
I don't understand that.
Well, we can't truly solve, we can't, there is no...
Especially in light of what you just said to Talaire, I don't understand that.
The true good ending was not reasonably possible.
I don't think Dexter doesn't differentiate between what our characters do and what Raza does based on our decisions. Those are all just resources that are at our disposal as players.
Right.
There's that too.
And the question that I thought I was answering last session, Orlinks, was I thought you were asking if this was basically a situation that the characters were being thrown into about which no good outcome could possibly be reached. That's where I say, no, that's not true. There's...
Okay, then no, you did misunderstand me a little bit, but that's fine.
Got it.
It wasn't a question of a good outcome could be reached. It was a question of like I said before, there was nothing we could do about what was going to happen. We just had to decide what was going to follow from that.
No, because I still disagree with that question, though. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the framing, but
something's getting lost in translation, I think. That's all right.
Let me try to explain here differently. I can't think of what you would do. I can't think of a specific solution that would achieve this, but I didn't come into this mission with the mindset of they're either going to blow up the planet or they're going to let it go under. I was open to the possibility that you would find a way to somehow prevent the planet from being subsumed, without blowing up the planet? So that's the question that I think I was answering. Is I didn't come in to this mission prep with a pre-planned outcome in mind.
And I will comment on that, Dexter, because actually in that context, I feel like I'm more on Auralinx's side on this, which is the only way that we even came up with to evacuate some of the people or to accomplish anything useful here was to expend Raza resources.
Mm-hmm.
And you suggested that that was your intention, that we would have to expend resources to do this. So
Yes.
when we asked, could we use resources to destroy all the condensers? And you said no. I mean, maybe the way we needed to frame that question was more along the lines of, how clever of an idea do we have to come up with that you will allow us to use Raza resources to destroy all the condensers? But it comes back to this idea that when we are dealing with problems on the scale of an entire world, and we are 4 people, we can only do at that scale what you tell us the resources that we have available to spend allow us to do.
Well, I'll take fault for that communication.
I mean, that's not even necessarily fault. I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is you were open to.
Don't worry about the words.
Okay.
I'll accept that the analysis. I probably could have done a better job of telling you that you can come up with other options outside of what I've presented there as your asset options as potentially feasible. Blowing up all or destroying all of the condensers with the application of a Raza asset points is denied because it's a quick and easy fix of the entire problem. And in gaming structure, I didn't want to allow that, so all of the narrative goes into saying no, they're too deep underground, they're underwater, they're just not easy enough for Raza alone to just come in and wipe them out before your unknown time frame elapses. But if you want to bring in some other factions and try and work with them, that's where I think you possibly could have, or perhaps still could, achieve the blue ending. What were the 2 Mass Effect endings? Green and red, and then they added a blue one, something like that.
Okay. So it wasn't so much that none of our expenditure of resources can accomplish this. It's that with Raza assets alone, we cannot accomplish this.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, this idea of you've presented us with a problem, because you'll recall when you and I had talked about assets before, you described assets as something that could make things easier, that could supplement our efforts. And now we have this whole mission where there's literally no way for the mission team to accomplish it by their own power. And now it's just a matter of which of our resources and how many of them are we going to expend to achieve.
And on what? Because the on what's really important here.
I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also in that kind of same vein too. Was like, there's never really any point in our character's growth where we would ever be able to have dealt with this without those assets, right? So it's not like we just took on a mission that was too hard for us and we needed to use the assets to make it easier. But anyways,
that's a fair criticism, because I did portray them as ways to make your mission easier, but not able to complete your mission.
Fundamentally, this is akin to in the Owlcat Pathfinder games when you go to a node expecting to be doing something on the party level, and instead it's just to choose your own adventure prompts that makes use of character skills and things like that, but you're not doing what the rest of the game says it's about. And I like a lot of the big picture here, but just the execution has felt not great.
The mechanics of how we interacted with this problem did not feel great.
That's
I'll certainly work on that.
And thank you for taking that critical feedback and taking it seriously. I know it's hard to deliver critique, it's hard to receive critique, so I appreciate that you are always so willing to listen and open up for feedback at the end of these sessions.
Absolutely. Anything I can, well, not anything I can do. Most things that are within my power to make this more enjoyable for all of you without sacrificing my own. I'm selfish there. I'm always willing to hear the criticism, the feedback, and work at, making the next one better. Always be willing to tell me I'm doing it wrong. I say that, I don't know if glibly is the right word, but we'll call it glibly. No, that's definitely not the right word. I say that tongue-in-cheek? Whatever.
Okay. So I guess we have a week to marshal our arguments.
You do? Any last thoughts, feedback, anything before I let you go?
This is a question for not right now, but perhaps after the next session we have. But I wonder how this mission would have ended if we had assigned it to a crew.
Had a what?
Assigned it to one of your mission teams.
I think it would have depended on who we sent.
I feel like it probably would have become subsumed. Would be my take, but I don't know.
I'm sure there's a crew we could make that would have blown up the planet.
If only
there's a crew we could make that would have blown the place up.
If only we had thought that. Yeah, it's like, oh man, if only we figured this out, we would have sent the team that would have blown it up.
Well, maybe you would have. That's your playthrough.
The information that we had before we went in.
We had very little.
Yeah, exactly. We had almost no information going into it.
We certainly didn't go to...
It would have been a blind guess, and who knows what would have happened. Like, imagine we send a crew that would have blown up the planet, and they come back and they're like, yeah, we blew the planet up. That's a whole session worth of explanation all by itself. You did what? Why did you do that? Et cetera, et cetera.
Actually, I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty simple explanation. It's like, you was gonna get flipped over to the Emperor world.
Nah, then there's a lot of questions about how, so on and so forth.
And we're told for that not to happen. Condensers. I mean, I don't know. These are simple.
I have one
last. So long
last...
as you have... Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were done. I did not mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, it's like, it's simple so long as you know the long and storied history.
So I do have one last question then. In the vein of having information more readily presented, either immediately in mission text or quickly in the beginning of the mission, can you tell me your thoughts on the Eagle and the Wren? You've already sent some NPCs off to it, but I had deliberately written that one as another, you don't know what's going on, and you don't have any specific mission instructions.
Okay, I gotta scroll back up for that to do that. It's
Check,
the pirate one?
Yeah, check the pinned messages. You should only need to scroll down a couple messages to see it.
The one that starts with dark.
I mean, I can comment on that one, which is whether you intended to or not, the subtext was incredibly clear that the pirates were forming a labor union. Now, I don't know if that's actually what you intended. We'll discover that, I suppose, during the intermission when you describe the outcome of the various missions. But that one seemed incredibly transparent to me.
Right, we knew what was going to happen. We'd go talk to the pirates, and Red Wren had a plan, and it was apparently not just going with it. I knew what that was. We knew that there was something going on here. That's like literally all.
But I guess our mission would have been union busting, huh?
Potentially.
Okay.
Are we the bad guys?
It depends.
just
Do we
figuring
end
that
up
out
blowing
now?
up this planet?
I've only figured this out after deciding whether we should blow up the planet or not.
We're an organization headlined by Jai Rao and Zoe LaRue.
Regarded as sector-wide terrorists.
Hold on. Zoe, since have a remind white, has not cut off any maid's faces, and it was never proven that she cut off that first maid's face. I don't. In fact, I don't think she
Were
actually.
the protagonists of a Kingdom Hearts game, or were the villains of a Kingdom Hearts game?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
That was just all talking through a pillow there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, were either the protagonists of a Kingdom Hearts game, or were the villains of a Kingdom Hearts game? Either way, we're Kingdom Hearts characters.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. But okay. I appreciate your feedback. I'll make sure to clip this out and preserve this feedback session when I do the highlights. When I do the whole, saving these sessions.
I also have so many questions for you about this setup versus my Hello Self video and what I know about Izzy's background and nobody else does yet, because holy cow. This plays completely different if you've seen it.
I know you started that with I also have questions, but I don't understand I don't understand anything what you said.
Well, I will go ahead and ask you in text rather than spoil it for everybody.
Okay.
Because,
Sounds good.
like, holy cow.
Sounds like he has questions about how this relates to his hello self.
Okay. I think I get it.
Not exactly, but
Not the hello
along those
self, but
lines.
his character history versus what his what you've seen here. Okay.
Yeah.
I probably won't answer too
Interesting.
much, but you're welcome to send the questions.
Uh-huh.
You can always try. Or no, you can certainly try.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. Again, thank you for... I still consider this a fun session to observe. And if there's any player frustration in that, then consider your frustration to have given me more joy in my day.
I thought I was good overall still. I'm also not very picky.
I know, we love that about you.